I'm not sure. But he's definitely playing super, super aggressive. So we'll see if that continues now.
All right, and with that, you talk us beautifully into game number 5 of this Winner Stays On series, and it is match point for B. In fact, 3 whole match points stored up for B, as he's got the 3-1 lead against Hera, who's on the win streak of 4 heading into this, going for $2,500. But he has run into stiff competition today. Spawning in the south of the map is our current champion, who's in danger, Hera, playing as the French civilization. Spawning in red on the north of the map, we've got B playing as the Delhi Sultanate. Now, we were talking a little bit, Beastie, about this matchup heading into the game, and you were talking about this as one really where the emphasis is on France in this game, Hera, to stop Delhi doing its thing. What's Delhi trying to achieve, and what's Hera trying to stop Delhi achieving?
So Delhi will 90% be going for the middle sacred site. He's going to wall it off, maybe even put a tower, get some stone to upgrade that tower, and he will try to use the sacred site gold to get to castle and then do some stone towers. That is the general idea behind Delhi on King of the Hill, and that is kind of the sole reason why you pick Delhi in this map. On the other side, Hera needs to kind of he has 2 options. He can either go for the sacred site, or he can actually ignore the sacred site and just do run-bys into B's economy, which is something that French players do. And the reason why French is very good on this map, if you look at B's base, like how do you wall that off? It's just extremely large surface area you need to wall. It kind of connects to the middle as well, and there's no easy way of doing it. So French Knights are very, very good here. You know, they can get in there, get a lot of harassment. Like I mentioned earlier with the wood lines, if you look at B's wood line, it is very far away from TC. So in most maps, you can gather the wood for a couple of minutes without disruption because your TC will cover it. But on this map, the wood line is so far away that TC doesn't actually cover you. So that's something that B has to be aware, and he has to have spears ready in case that happens. And we'll see if Hera tries to abuse that, or if maybe B decides to go for the greatest wall of all time, because that would cost a lot of wood to pull that one off.
Yeah, maybe looking to build the famous Great Wall of Delhi, but we're going to have to wait and see if he does that. In the meantime, B sticking down the Dome of the Faith right now, aging up with what looks like 3 or 4 villages, 4 villages aging up. Hera, of course, going to do as every France age up looks like, and that typical school of cavalry going down with the perfect number of villagers on golden food to start pumping out that cavalry. So this game playing out pretty much as called by you so far, Beastie. I think it's fair to say we do know exactly how the first few minutes of this game are going to look like, and it's really a game of execution, something that's not been maybe as on point for Hera as it has been in other points of this series and other days. So going to be interesting to see what he is able to do. Now, not much that's going to give anything away yet, but we're going to see quite soon how he manages to do. It does look like that sacred site is slightly Hera favored, but not very much in it if we're being fair. Again, as we get towards the 4-minute mark, anything catching your eye right now?
So far, pretty standard. B has 2 on gold. That is for the scholar production, because you want to make sure you're producing them at all times. You know, they can boost production in your buildings, research times, do some healing. So far, so good. Hera has 5 on wood, and he's rallying more on wood, which means it's going to be an archery range coming up the moment he hits the feudal. So it's going to be knights plus archers, or he might do knights plus blacksmith. For those that don't know, if you get blacksmith with French, you get the free +1 attack upgrade, and that allows your knight to do a charge plus auto attack to kill a worker. Otherwise, you need to charge +2 auto attack. So it's much more efficient to have blacksmith instantly, and that's why you'll see some French players rush blacksmith the moment they hit feudal and they try to, snipe a worker or 2.
All right. Going to be interesting to see whether that comes to fruition in this game. In the meantime, Hera going in with a couple of scouts, but no cancel animation, making those annoyances on villagers significantly less effective. So, yeah, I'm not sure to what extent we've seen the lack of cancel animation having an impact on which way this game would be going. I mean, Hera with his very, very quick APM was one of the players that, you know, it did quite suit. Of course, nothing wrong with taking advantage of that. It was such a key part of the game that you had to win a game. But perhaps this is a game, you know, where we're beginning to see that micro APM advantage is not as strong as it once was. So, interesting to see. Now, of course, Hera is a French player. He's a Canadian player, but he is a player that does like playing with the French civilization, so would be considered typically his main. So it's going to be quite interesting to see if this is the one that he can pull out. Now we're seeing a couple of the scouts get on top of some Delhi villagers right there, but they look like they're going to be fine, again, especially with no cancel animation coming in. Hera coming in with his first Royal Knight, but taking a little turn back. Can't decide if he wants to go in or not. Would love to take down at least one villager right now, but those spearmen's out nice and early from B, and very well positioned where they need to be to stop that knight coming in. Now, lots of knights actually coming out already for B. I mean, obviously he knows that he needs to be making knights, but quite spearmen, sorry, but quite a nice early mass of them. And is Hera really going to be able to get in very much damage, Beasty?
So what I love about B's playstyle, he actually took the, I don't know, the like Loom from Age of Empires 2. I don't know what the upgrade name is for Age of Empires 4. The 25 extra health on the workers. So he got that before the knight got to B's base. That's why only one worker went down, because the workers have extra health, so the knights have much harder time sniping the workers, which is a very good investment. You basically skip on one villager production as Delhi, but you potentially save a lot of villagers in the long run. And we do see archers from Hera. One archer range so far, maybe it's going to be another one soon. But yeah, Hera is just putting on the aggression, and I guess this is his way of trying to stop Delhi and play against them.
Well, yeah, B has just shown fantastic decision-making throughout this series, it has to be said. Like, very well thought-out strategy. Kind of reminded me a bit of Linux, who came with some excellent strategies, and then we had Salami that everyone kind of wrote off, but came in with really nicely thought-out ideas of how he was going to approach the game. Also, looking like B's adapt very, very quickly to the new meta that will establish from this, but yeah, those raids doing very little, and definitely agree with you, that was very nice use of textiles to get that extra health in for the villagers, which, I mean, for the cost of that upgrade, you only need to save one villager, and it's fantastic value, and he's at least saved one villager, potentially more, and of course that's going to keep being valuable throughout the rest of the game. So now, this time Hera coming in with some archers, this time together with the knights. He's going to be the one finally in this game trying to be the one putting pressure on and getting on that hill overlooking B's base. And this time he's actually got significantly more archers than his opponent, so he's going to try and pick off as many of these spears as he can. Looks like Hera's got the numbers here. Spears are actually managing to kind of get on top of those archers, though, and if those archers go down, then he's going to have a problem. But now those spears are totally out of position. Knight's getting on top of the archers, and it's going to actually just go through a lot of those archers very, very quickly. Numbers looking good for Hera here, Beastie. What are you thinking?
Yeah, Hera is playing much better this game. I think he's being like super aggressive, more kind of like his style. He's microing very well, and B needs to get these archer numbers down so that his spearmen can fight the knights. But the spearmen are slowly dying. There's only 2-1 left, and he actually needs to just run now with the archers until he gets a little bit bigger numbers to be able to fight these.
Yeah, that quite typical French archer Royal Knight micro where you're just picking off your opponent's spears, and when you pick them off it's just a slaughter left. And very interesting to see. Yeah, Hera's showing a lot more initiative this game, and looking in a much better position. This might be the one that he begins to get back in, and of course this is such a momentum led game that, you know, once you get back into it and get back into the run, it can quickly begin to gather some pace. So Again, this game very well poised still, but once those Royal Knights gather pace, and he's now going to go in for a big attack on the wood line, but very well spotted by B, gets the archers out in, their spearmen out in time. So far, we've just hit that 10-minute mark. Who do you give the higher grading to for the start of this game?
I think so far Hera has had better engagements. He is ahead on workers as well, ahead by 4 workers, which is a good amount. But soon B will push out, and if Hera cannot prevent the capturing of the middle, that's where the game might start turning around. We do see some walls from B to try to prevent it, but like I said, it's so hard to wall this whole thing off. And like this is one of those games where it's just going to come down to micro. Who can micro the knight versus spearman better? And who can snipe each other's archers a little bit better. Oh, Beastyqt goes down, which is actually huge at in these kinds of games, because you need the vision. You need to know where the opponent knights are, where the units are moving. So losing that scout is very, very painful.
Yeah, he's going to have to make another scout. That's going to be quite problematic. Lost a lot of vision right now. And Hera, this one, keeping up the aggression, going to keep on going in and might begin to see a bit of a snowball effect now that Hera's got that military advantage on the field. Hardened spearmen go down very, very quickly, of course, these archers, and it looks like he's not got, although it does actually look like B's got quite a good number of archers himself. In fact, he does have more archers than his opponent. But
yeah, so he didn't see the knights on the right, which almost, if the knights went in the back, like this is where the French shines, right? If he goes back in the berries and starts running around, it's so hard for spearmen to catch them. Even though spearmen kill knights, how do you actually catch them and actually manage to kill them? We see B moving with a lot of workers in the middle. Okay, he's just gonna wall off. B is, I don't know if he forgot, sometimes this happens, but he's pulling workers to build walls instead of just using the units. And he had a lot of workers pulled. Oh, they finished mining wood, and I think they kind of just got lost in their train of thought there. But yeah, he's just gonna slowly wall, which is not the worst idea. B should win a straight-up fight. French has an advantage early on, right? Because of the knights, and knights are very good in lower numbers. But the more spearmen there are, the more archers there are. If there's 30 spears, you can't really snipe all of them before you start the engage. So knights will kind of lose value the bigger the numbers are. And that's something that Hera has to be careful. And what would be a really good idea for Hera is to separate a couple of knights and try to go for harassment in the backside of B's base.
And a huge, well, not quite a huge confrontation in the end because Hera's decided he didn't fancy it, but what looked like it might have been a relatively big confrontation at one point. Interesting, it looks like Hera might have the numbers if he chose to do it, and maybe he just doesn't quite fancy he's got enough archers to pick off all of those spears, doesn't want to watch his Royal Knights get shredded.
He should start walling now with units. Like, even if he makes one layer of walls, preventing the knights from charging in is huge. He should try to wall the front if possible. Because if this is walled, then the French knights can't engage anymore, and then it's just archers versus, a bunch of walls and his own archers. So we'll see if B actually manages to get this wall up, or if Hera managed to kind of prevent it.
And just like that, he does try to wall off the sacred site, but doesn't quite happen. He's not actually managed to quite yet take the sacred site. And Hera's going to choose this moment just to go for the confrontation. He looks like he's taking it in a really, really good spot. B all of a sudden completely overwhelmed by units. Royal Knights surrounding those archers. So many archers going down. B pushed out right at the wrong time and looks to be in a whole world of pain here right now. Complete wraparound. All of the spears have gone. Those Royal Knights are going to clean up the very little of what's left. And B went for it, made an aggressive move right down the throat of the map, and all of a sudden looking like a spot of bother here for B. Really nice engagement there from Hera. Picked his moment spectacularly well, and yeah, now is that decisive? Is there a way back for B here? Beasty looked very impressive.
Yeah, good target firing from Hera on the archers on the spearmen, and the spearmen kind of went on the right side and attacked some of the archers instead of going for the knights. And this is the kind of game where both armies can win, and it's all about micro. Whoever manages to, if B manages to save his spearmen against the knights, he wins. If Hera manages to snipe the spearman, then obviously the knights will kind of clean up everything. And yeah, this was a pretty big win for B. And now Hera has the option to either tech up to castle or to continue pushing. And I think he's just gonna go for it.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. Just to say that shape that was created there by B was quite beneficial in the end to the Knights of Hera. He created this like perfect little U-shaped situation for the Knights just to rush into and swallow up all of those units. I mean, perhaps it would have been better advised to build the wall facing the Knights first and operate behind it.
Yeah. He walled off the back first, which funnily enough, he kind of walled himself from kiting. So yeah, if he walled the front, I actually think that fight looks completely different. Because then the knights have to kind of go around, the archers have more room to play with, to kite, and yeah, it's one of those things that in the moment, if you react properly, the game outcome might be like very different.
And now Hera camped out exactly where he wants to be. Definitely with a significant villager lead. We can take a little look there. 54 against 40, so very significant there. Pushing in very aggressively. Going to start now making a move in. I don't really see a way back from B into this one. Hera's looked very powerful. Very decisive. And with that, B taps out 3-2. Hera trying to make the comeback. Beasty, that felt like, even though Hera is down 3-2, that felt like the most decisive of any of the games we've seen today. Really strong. Hera felt very in control throughout the whole game.
Yeah, that looked like Hera just woke up from a nap and he's like, all right, let's go. It looked much different than the previous games. I'll say that. So yeah, he played it quite well. I think he played the right amount of aggression. He chose his fights well, and he did pretty well.
All right, so take a little look there. We can take a look at the timeline. Total unit count, very close most of the way up. Actually, B having a slight advantage, but big confrontation coming. Of course, that's the total unit count, but so many of those units are Hera's very powerful Royal Knights. Hera always just maintaining that villager advantage as the French typically do. All right. This is very much heating up. If Hera can try and cling on to one more.